Let your light shine on me.
Ron, can you tell us a little bit about, networking as a leader and how your leadership skills has helped you in the networking world?
Oh yeah, networking is key, but networking also helps you. Outside of being a leader, networking is just beneficial overall as an individual. I can't tell you how many times that meeting someone has led to either myself having a job opportunity or an opportunity in the business world, or it's been allowed for me to open doors for others. Networking is just a very pivotal part of growth in your career path and just in life in general. You just never know, what being able to speak to someone and just being, open and honest and being yourself and building a relationship can do for you in the future. You just have no idea how beneficial those what a lot of people take for granted, right? Just meeting somebody at the grocery store, running into somebody at an event, or or something like that. How beneficial that could possibly be in the future, with just showing kindness and showing love to those, and really showing the love of God to people, right? Just being able to shine that light on the world and in our communities, right? But as far as being a leader and how being a leader and being able to network can sometimes clash, but they also can be very beneficial to one another. And I'll say that because sometimes those in leadership roles don't mix well with others. And those are typically leaders that are more focused on going up here rather than focus on building from the bottom. As we think about in the church, right? God is my rock and my foundation, right? I feel the same way about how I grow in my business life, right? And in my life in general. I deal with the janitor or, the laborer on my sites the same way I deal with the CEO. And oftentimes I feel I treat them with even more respect. Because they're going to be the ones that are going to get me out of a pinch when I need them, right? That janitor or that laborer is going to be able to clean that floor or taking care of that issue on the site at the last minute when I need to get things prepared for the CEO, and the CEO is not going to do that, right? So understanding that in life is very important, and taking titles out of things and taking, not allowing that to take you out of those opportunities to meet with people. I think a lot of times in certain spaces in particular, especially in certain social realms, titles and what you do and what your title is at that current time, oftentimes determines how people will speak to you, treat you, or engage with you in certain arenas, right? But, as a leader, it shouldn't matter what their title is. As a leader, it shouldn't matter where they are at that current juncture, because as a leader, you've seen how you've been able to grow and where you have come from, and you should be looking at others in the same view and through the same lens. You should be willing to look at someone at where they are and understanding that they have the potential to grow and go further and even grow to higher heights than even you, right? And that's what being a good leader is being able to see the good qualities in others, and being able to see where someone else has come from and what they bring and what the value that they bring to the table is, and understanding how you can utilize to help grow your business or grow in your community activism activity, or even grow in your life spiritually, emotionally, mentally, right? There are so many different people that are coming to our lives for different reasons. I've met friends that have become mentors. I've met friends that have become, spiritual partners, in my walk of faith. I've met people along the way who have helped me in my career and just become overall mentors in how to be a good businessman, right? And how to function in the world of business. Being a Black man is in my craft, that's usually one of one in the room of all people from all other walks of life that came from all silver plates and silver spoons and the whole 9 yards, right? Where I didn't have that growing up. So understanding that me being able to network from my youth up to the age that I am now, has allowed me to enter into so many spaces that otherwise I would not have. So I would say that networking is a key part of leadership. I think they go hand in hand. I think to become a good leader, you have to learn how to network, because again, you grow your market, you make yourself more marketable, and you make yourself more seen. And also it helps you polish yourself, right? Like the more I interviewed growing up, the better I got at it, right? Like, so from my first interview at Sears when I was working in retail in high school to being able to interview, just last year or just yesterday, right? Where I just had another opportunity come to fruition in my life and it was through a relationship that I had built with someone at my church. So again, networking is huge. You never know what talking to somebody about your dreams or your goals may do, right? Someone that you come across like, hey, I'm in a forum, at a particular place where a friend of mine was having a get together. And it was another gentleman there that, I was happened to be having a cigar. And he wanted to partake. I had my case with me. I offered him one, and it sparked up a conversation. It went from cigars to talking about what we do for a living, and we happened to work in the same exact field, growing and trying to figure out what our next move is, right? So thinking about him working in development and me working in project management and how we can potentially maybe work together in the future. Again, those are the opportunities that come as a leader when you put yourself out there and you network. I know there are all different personality types out there, and networking for some can seem daunting because, a lot of times they're in large venues. They're in places where you oftentimes don't know a lot of the folks. But I think in networking, you have to find a way to come into your comfort zone. When I first started out going to networking conferences and things like that, when I was with NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, while I was in college, I was able to go to these things at a young age, right? I'm 18, going out to Vegas for a national conference, being able to meet people from all over the country. And oftentimes networking is a little bit easier than we make it out to be. I would say the first thing you want to look to do is to find a common ground, right? If a person has on a certain pin on their jacket and you can relate to it, right? It's an organization that you recognize, or it's something, that you see that is a connection point. Like I'm looking at Brother McClure's shirt, right? Like that's one of the Black Panthers that I read about, right, in my lifetime, and understood that reading about that gentleman and understanding, okay, without him and without that movement, without understanding what it took as a Black man during that era to change my community and to try to change the world, that we see it as Black people, we needed to do certain things. And although things didn't go exactly how they planned it, and we knew and died at a very young age, and we weren't able to see, the true fruits of all of his workmanship come to fruition, the changes that he made changed the course of American history. Right. So that's a connection point I can make just by seeing his shirt, right? And knowing, oh man, I know that guy. I read about him. He's like pivotal in my growth. Those simple connections can change the conversation and take away some of that nervousness, right? Hey, what's your sports team? Who do you root for, for baseball, football, whatever, right? Like, where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Like, oh, I used to visit there with my family. I meet people from Nashville all the time, too. And I'm like, oh, I used to visit my family down there all the time, right? So those little connection pieces can take a conversation where you might be nervous to approach someone, or it might be a little difficult for you to figure out what to talk about, and then you grow it from there. So again, networking is not as complicated as a lot of people make it, but I will say that being in the right place at the right time can change your life. And it's a benefit that shouldn't be taken lightly. And when you're given the opportunity to do so, I would take advantage of it. And another tidbit that I'll leave off, and I'll stop running my mouth for a second and give some other people a chance to talk. I'll say always come prepared with a resume, a business card, or something about yourself that you can say in 30 seconds or less. If you're trying to get your first job or trying to get your first opportunity, those are the things that you need to know. When I was growing up, it was called an elevator pitch. I don't know what the kids call it today, right? But having your elevator pitch on hand, ready. I was listening to a motivational speaker yesterday. He was like, I wanted to be a disc jockey. Which is a DJ, y'all, for the young folks that don't know what a disc jockey is, right? And he was going to the radio station every day, knocking on the door. And the guy kept turning him away, saying, I don't want you here. I don't need no more DJs. I got all my DJs in line. And on the fifth day of him going there, the guy got so bothered. He was like, you know what, go in there and get me a cup of coffee. And that was how he got his first internship at a radio station. Then he kept working. He started washing the guy's car. He's like, who washed my car? He's like, I did, sir. Oh, and going over and above, right? Showing that you're worthy, of this person looking at you and taking you seriously, right? He got to the point where he was going and taking out clients and stuff for the broadcasting company, right? Going and picking people up from the airport in the guy's car, right? And then from there, he was able to go and move forward and be able to become, like, on the fly. One of the DJs got, too intoxicated during the show, couldn't finish. And he was searching around, the owner was searching around looking for somebody that could replace him, and sent a guy in there to just play some records. And he started immediately. This is the man with the master plan. This is the person you want to hear every day. This is the one and the only, right? Already had his elevator speech. And for a DJ, back in the day, it was your call out, right? You had your specific call out that you had for you, that everybody know you was coming on air for that, 3 to 9, 3 to 6 slot, right? Already ready and prepared. So I would say preparation is key. Always go into situations knowing, what you have to offer, who you are, and it'll take you far. I'm a hush now.
Oh, that's real. That literally reminds me of when I started in radio. Like, I literally, I blew that man's phone up every day at 5 o'clock at the same time. Like, literally, I think I did it for a good 2 or 3 weeks straight. And he finally answered. He was like, hey. I was like, yeah, I've been calling you every day, right? He said, I know. But that's how I got my internship in radio. And that's how I got to where I'm at now, doing with what I'm doing with my TV show and stuff. So you have to be consistent and persistent. Seriously, if you really want something, you have to go get it. And like Ronald said, you have to have that elevator pitch. So just have something just to kind of promote yourself. Tell people that, well, this is what I do, and this is what I offer. Have a card or whatever you can, and give it to them and tell them to go visit. And try to keep your social media sites relevant with what you're wanting to do. And be careful what you post. Show your leadership skills and abilities through your social media pages. Don't be, a follower as far as, well, I have to go with this or go with that. If you do, make something different with it. Be creative. Show your leadership qualities by being creative, by being persistent, by being consistent. Sometimes you might have to, like the guy, like the story he was telling, like myself, call somebody at 5 o'clock every day until they give you that internship or that job. And then when you get that internship, if they tell you, because I didn't have to pick up plenty of lunches, plenty of lunches, even though thankfully they gave me enough money to pick up lunch for myself, but plenty of lunches. And sometimes you may have to do certain things that you really don't want to do, but you kind of have to learn how to enjoy it, because you're looking at it like, okay, this is my start. I'm getting my foot in the door. This is how I can build on my leadership skills. And in order to be a good leader, you have to learn how to be a good follower at first and take directions from others. If you can learn how to take directions from other people, when you get in that position, you'll know how to delegate and talk to people right. And you'll pray and hope that you have someone that's up under you that knows how to follow directions. So I always treat people the way you would want to be treated if you're in that position. So be aware of that as well. But yeah, networking is important. And it doesn't matter where you are. You could be at the dollar store. You don't know who might walk in that dollar store. Network. You could be getting to your car, or even going to a church service or whatever. Network with people. You don't know who you may meet that may know someone else that can help you get to where you want to be, and they can help you build on your leadership skills. So Micah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your, what your knowledge is on networking and how you use your leadership skills for that.
Lay down. What are you about?
I would say that for me, networking is something that requires you to look at it on both ends, right? And so I would say that it's so important to not only be a blessing, but also to expect that other folks can bless you. And so when I enter into any situation, I think about the idea of how can I help people when I go out into the world every day, but also I think also how can I help people? And so I think oftentimes when people think about networking, they only think about the idea of how can these people help me get to my goal? How can they help me achieve this? I think if we're able to sharpen our ability to help other people, we're able to sharpen our ability to be a resource, we're able to sharpen our skills when it comes to networking and be seen as a resource. Right. And I think that when you're seen as a valuable piece, that means that other folks not only want your help, they see the need for your help. They see a specific place and lane that you fit. If you know that you are about to be in a space with a ton of millionaires and you give the same kind of respect and appreciation to the person that's serving the food in that room, that in itself shows a level of character that you have. If I am in a space with a ton of leaders, and the only thing I ask is, how can you help me? How can you hire me? I was told by somebody who's an amazing leader in this city once that one of the things that stood out about me is the fact that I approached him not with what he could do for me, but more so about how can I help them, right? How can I help the organization? Like, this is a place that I'm good at. This is what I know how to do. This is some advice. I think oftentimes, in order to be a leader, networking really requires you to get out of your element. And so that also requires you to ask yourself some hard questions as far as, what do I want to get better at? Am I a good public speaker? Am I nervous in these situations? When I get around a lot of folks, do I kind of shut down? And there's nothing wrong with that, because we all have our different personality types. But recognizing that about yourself allows you to work on, allows you to see, okay, I'm going to set a goal for myself. When I'm at this event, I'm going to talk to 3 people. And if I can talk to 3 people, I've met that goal. If I talk to 4, I surpassed it. And that's how you build that character up. For us on this call, I believe, I feel like we're probably the type of people, it's probably hard for us to only talk to 3 people, right? And so even thinking about the networking, like having networking goals, like when I go to certain events, I have a goal of, I'm going to leave here with the contact, community contact. I'm going to leave here with a capital contact. I'm going to also make sure I get my contact to this many people. Right. And so I think that with networking within the space I'm in, it's always networking, right? Politics is so network driven, especially for community organizing is so network driven. And so if you're not able to network, you're not able to build effective relationships, you really are at a disadvantage. And so I would say that for me, the most important part of networking isn't just meeting people, it's your follow-up game. And I think that's oftentimes what people end up forgetting, the fact that it's easy to meet somebody. I can get your number like that. But it takes a different type of person to call somebody every day for 2 or 3 weeks. Right? It takes somebody, but it takes a level of ingenuity. It takes a level of persistence. It also takes a level of confidence, because you got to also recognize that, look, I'm not sacrificing anything in my confidence to humble myself and make sure I call you on a regular basis. And also, I feel like I'm somebody you should want to know, but I'm also somebody who wants to know you. So how do we work this out? Right. And so being persistent with the way that you are building out your relationships is important. For me, I had to literally create a schedule for my follow-ups, because I meet so many folks or whatnot. So I say that, look, within the day, I'm going to make sure I send you a text or whatnot and say, thank you for meeting and let's do this. Within the week, I'll try to set up a meeting, whether it's that day or in the future, and like consistently do that on a regular basis. That part is what separates you from other people. There are folks who hand out their entire stack of business cards and only get maybe 5 to 10 callbacks back. Out of those 5 to 10, they only see 1 or 2 folks who are persistent about actually following up. And so when I think about that for you all, for those who are in school, your most obvious opportunity to network is with your teachers, right? Like, you all are just starting the school year, making sure that you can have a sit down with your teachers and discuss your goals for that semester and discuss their goals for you as a student. That sets you apart from the rest of the class, right? Have an opportunity to sit down with your principal, your guidance counselor, and say, hey, by the way, I know we've seen each other in the hallway, but I would love to sit down with you and just have a 5-minute conversation about how can I be a better student, but also what kind of programs and resources are you aware of that I can gain some knowledge from. Their entire job is to help you. Their entire job is to help you be a better person and reach your goals. And if that isn't their job, we need to talk about why they're in that position.
Right.
That's right.
And so having an opportunity to like network around your immediate networks is important. I would also say for me, my level of networking was definitely elevated when I was in college and I became part of student organizations. Student organizations they provide you an opportunity to see where your leadership is, but also provide you different gaps to fill with your leadership. So I served on, I was a collegiate 100 black men when I was in college. Within that organization, I was able to network with folks who were twice my age and within my same age at different campuses. Was able to put on several events, and also saw, oh wow, I'm really good at this space. So like this is something that really like feeds my passion to help people. And so I think when you put yourself out there, when it comes to community organizations, when it comes to organizations like building these partnerships and so many other great leaders around the city, when you put yourself in that space, you have an opportunity to build in a different way. You have an opportunity to really think about how can I be a force in this space. And so I would say in networking, when it relates to leadership, always see yourself as somebody who can be added to, but also somebody who can add to somebody else. When you're at the grocery store, when you are at church, when you are at prayer group, when you are at the basketball court, when you are wherever you're at, you have an opportunity to be a person that can add to other folks within your friend group, especially. And I will give you all a piece of homework real quick as well. With your friend group, your closest friends, many folks have not had really in-depth conversations with their friends about their goals, about their friends' goals. I ask you all to set up conversations with your friends where you can actually talk about how your goals align. Really think about how your goals align, and also think about how you can help them achieve their goals. Because sometimes we only connect with the people who are closest to us on very shallow levels. I ask you to think about that as your first group of people that you can organize, that you can network with, that you can really help be better, but also they can help you be better. And I think in doing that, you allow yourself to think about networking. You allow yourself to think about your own power and impact in a completely different way. And I'm not talking about just talking to your friends about what they need to change. You need to stop doing this. You should stop doing that. Nah, ask them what their goals are. Ask them if like certain things are in line with their goals. Ask them, is there anything that you can be a better friend about, or how they see you can achieve this goal in a more direct way. I think that we have to be really, really creative with building the goal of networking, because for me, networking is the most important part, right? When you think about Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was a massive network. It was a masterful network, right? You think about the idea that he was a fisherman of men. He wasn't just a fisherman of goods. He wasn't a fisherman of services. He wasn't a fisherman of things. He was literally walking the path with other folks, making sure that leadership was cultivated in them, pulling them in to this body of Christ, right? Pulling them in to a network of folks who were doing better things. They all didn't look like him. They all didn't speak like him. He was around gangsters. He was around other folks or whatnot who people that had it already written off. And so I ask you to really think expansively about your impact, and the fact that you just being part of your friend group, that's not enough. You being a leader in your friend group is where you start that networking process.
That's true. That's true. You know, start with your friendships, your friend group, the group of friends that you already have. And that can help you get your nerves up enough too to go outside of the box and meet other people. You know, and another thing, when you have these conversations with your friends and they don't really have no goals, or they don't know what they don't, you might not want to hang with those type of people too much longer. You know?
I know where they're at.
Yeah. And that's how you find out where people are, by having those conversations. They can't tell you what goals are, or they don't have any, and you do. You might want to kind of distance yourself and find another group of friends that are like-minded and that have similar goals and things that they want to do. And I know when we were at MTSU, we used to always talk about our goals. Like most of our friends, we all hung around each other that were actually driven. We were always goal driven on wanting to do this or wanting to do that. And those type of people, you know, when you hang around those type of people, they motivate you, they encourage you, and they make you realize, okay, I see them over here doing this. Well, now I got to go do something too, because I see my friends over here, because I don't want to be left behind. So, you know, always hang around people that are going places. Don't hang around people that's just staying right in the same area, because 10 years from now, they're probably still going to be right in that same little box. Always hang around people that are willing to grow, that have a growth mindset. And when you have a growth mindset, you're going to always be willing to learn. You're going to be more mindful. You're going to be more curious about different things because you're going to want to get out there to learn as much as you can learn. And so, you know, be aware of who you're hanging around and networking with. Always network with people that are going places. And like Micah said, follow up. Don't just get their number or their email and don't do anything with it. Then there was no purpose of being super nervous just to go up and talk to somebody. Then you don't do that with the number or the information that they give you. You know, so if you get the nerve up enough to go speak to the people, get their information, call them or send them a text right then. Call them the next day and let them know, hey, I met you at such and such. This is such and such. I just want to, you know, stay in contact, you know, and stay in contact with them. You know, let them know what you're doing. Follow them. Matter of fact, if you can, follow them on social media. That way they'll always consistently see what you're putting out and what you're doing. And then y'all can, you know, meet. And then social media is a good networking spot. You know, I've met so many people just off of social media by itself, you know, just from sending them stuff or keeping in touch, you know. So you have to be consistent. Like if you, like I said earlier, if you have to call that person every day for 2 or 3 weeks at the same time, do what you got to do until you get to where you believe you want to be at, you know, and never give up. Just because you might receive a no doesn't mean that it's not going to be a better yes in the future. Because sometimes God will close one door because he has several better doors opening up for you in the future. So networking is key to your leadership. You know, networking is what helps you develop those good leadership skills because it gets you out of yourself and you're looking to see what you can do for other people and not just for yourself. Because networking is about collaborating and partnering together as well.
Let your light shine on me.